Think about this. Africa possesses 3/4 of the world's platinum supply, half of its chromium, a fifth of its gold and uranium. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, alone supplies more than 70% of mined cobalt.
So what we see is much more demand for electricity ramping up for the clean energy transition and for the digitalization of everything. Now, for this electrification to happen, we need metals and minerals for which demand was not there before. So demand for some of these metals and minerals is going to grow many, many times. The estimate, for instance, is that graphite demand is going to grow about 10 times compared to what it is today. Copper, again, multiple times. There is an opportunity to use this demand, which is going to be there for decades to come, so that we can attract investments in Africa and make sure that these investments happen in a way that an increased amount of the benefits of the investments can stay within Africa.
There is an absence of comparative data on mining laws and suitable templates for the mining industry specific to Africa. And so in 2014, the World Bank Group, in partnership with the African Legal Support Facility and the Africa Union Commission, launched the Africa Mining Legislation Atlas project. With the goal of addressing information asymmetry in Africa's mining sector, the project sought to implement solutions to facilitate the sustainable development of Africa's mining sector through 3 avenues: the AMLA platform, a free online one-stop resource for Africa's mining legal framework, so mining codes, regulations, and related legislation. We were able to collect all these laws to make them more easily readable and available on a freely accessible platform. This allows for equal access among stakeholders. And then there is the AMLA training program, focused on strengthening the capacity of Africa's next generation of mining lawyers. It is critical to have local legal capacity. You need people who are in the beginning, a part of the process, understanding how the laws are drafted, able to translate that into the negotiations with investors, and also able to monitor these contracts in accordance with their laws when the contracts are signed. So we have been able to train about 270 students who now are in one way or the other involved in the mining sector. Some of them are in academia, now teaching mineral law to others. Others are lawyers to mining companies, while others yet work for the government or represent mining impacted communities.
Je pense que plus les années vont passer et plus on va voir les conséquences, l'impact que AMLA a eu sur l'appréciation du droit minier en Afrique.
Dans ce cadre, on a pu beaucoup aider les États, que ce soit en Érythrée, que ce soit au Kenya, en Ouganda, au Sénégal, Mali, et j'en passe. C'était énorme. Je me suis retrouvé dans le cadre de négociations de conventions avec des personnes avec lesquelles qui avaient eu déjà travaillé sur le projet AMLA, n'est-ce pas? Où, en fin de compte, on s'est dit notre rôle en tant que chercheur et aujourd'hui en tant que professionnel travaillant dans ce secteur, c'est de faire en sorte qu'on trouve un juste équilibre dans la négociation de ces conventions.
And finally, the guiding template, an annotated document designed to assist countries in the preparation or revision of their mining laws.
There's a global consensus, backed by robust empirical evidence, that effective laws and strong legal and judicial institutions are vitally important to the ambitions of sustainable development.
One notable example is my experience advising the government of Rwanda in 2018. Now, during discussions and analysis on the mining bill and draft regulations, the government officials effectively, in my opinion, utilized AMLA to inform their decision-making process, witnessing the diligence of the members of parliament who thoroughly reviewed every provision of the new mining bill and relied on AMLA to facilitate their discussions. Ultimately, I think this engagement led to the adoption of several proactive and gender-inclusive provisions in the Rwanda Mining Code.
A good law, a good legal and regulatory framework, first of all, attracts investors. So the moment investors come in and the moment we have activity in the mining sector, jobs are generated. And usually these are jobs that require skills, and these are well-paying jobs and secure jobs. In addition to that, there's always a question about how much of the benefits, how much of the wealth that is in Africa can stay within Africa for its own development. And to the extent that we have the right laws and we have transparency in the way concessions are awarded and the way mining is done in Africa, they all benefit because more of Africa's wealth can come into developing Africa, its infrastructure, and its human resources as well.
I was a very young lawyer assigned to work on the negotiation of a mining contract between a government and an investor. And for the first time, I was able to see that you can have a situation in which mining companies who develop their own energy can share the excess energy that is developed with communities that surround them. You can negotiate for scholarships for communities in the area who are impacted. Governments appreciate AMLA for one core reason. It is a tool for them. It's an empowering tool that they can use whether an expert is there or not. They can go online and they can compare their laws to the laws of their neighboring countries or similarly situated countries. It doesn't require a lot of complex navigation to access what they need.
And so by virtue of bringing this online, AmLaw is creating a transparency that not only is a morally and logically efficient and effective ambition, but it's a necessary one so that investors, users, the government can understand what policies are in place, what regulations are in place, how to comply with them, and then they can assess the costs and risks of their investment and extraction of these minerals and mining.
The project has built a multi-faceted partnership that joined with the World Bank and the African Legal Support Facility to operationalize the various activities of the project. Over 50 African law faculties, including those who hosted the capacity building workshops, law firms, think tanks, and other CSOs who contributed their expertise to train students and contribute to the drafting of the templates and toolkits.
Nous sommes en partenariat avec la Banque mondiale sur cette initiative AMLA depuis 10 ans. Donc, comme vous imaginez, c'est une initiative qui est une initiative très importante pour la facilité. Non seulement parce qu'elle concerne un secteur qui a toujours été au cœur des activités de la Facilité africaine de soutien juridique, c'est-à-dire le renforcement de capacité et le conseil transactionnel en matière minière. Mais elle est doublement importante parce que c'est un partenariat avec la Banque mondiale qui est un acteur majeur pour les investissements, mais aussi, d'une certaine manière, le renforcement de capacité sur des secteurs particuliers, aussi bien les infrastructures, les PPP, que ce qui nous concerne aujourd'hui, le droit minier. Donc, et pour nous, les partenariats sont très importants.
It's been wonderful being part of AMLA for the last 8 of its 10 years. LexisNexis Rule of Law Foundation is in talks with World Bank to keep this going in a new iteration under our foundation.
I hope AMLA is a catalyst to support greater ambition in bringing harmonization across the mining sector, greater certainty to governments and investors and users and export partners to understand how and when minerals can be extracted, used, and traded. And I think the transparency and ability of people to access relevant mining laws is going to be an important part of that.
For many governments, attracting investment in the mining sector creates an opportunity, first of all, to create jobs for their people. It brings investments in infrastructure, in power, transport, and water, and it brings revenues from royalties and taxes. And for many of the countries in Africa, revenues from their natural wealth is a potential that needs to be unlocked.
We've had great success with the AmLaw project, from the tools and support of governments and other stakeholders to build more informed policy, governance, and accountability structures and processes, to the capacity building of young people into a continental cadre of professionals who inform policy debate and are tackling the challenges in the mining sector from different vantage points.
This is something that has been set in motion that I believe will continue to yield benefits far into the future. So the journey is by no means over, it's just begun.